Hi, my name is Paige. Welcome to my channel. So before we say anything else, let's confront the fact that I cut off most of my hair. If you're not new here, then you probably already saw the difference, but my hair used to be down here. So I think I took off a good like 7 inches. I just cut it off like yesterday, so I'm still really weirded out by this hair and how short it is, and it's just really bizarre for some reason. I've been growing my hair out for like years, so I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, if any of you have had long hair before, then you know like how hard it is to maintain. My hair was thinning a lot and the ends were terrible, and it took so long to wash and dry, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I figure I'll cut my hair here. I can still put it up in a ponytail when I get up early, and you know, I'm debating going shorter. I don't know if you have an opinion about that. Let me know. Part of me wants to have like a really straight like bob sort of, but I don't know. Anyway, this isn't a hair video, so let's talk about books. So for Christmas, my beautiful family and friends and all of them got me gift cards for Barnes & Noble, and thus I spent them immediately. Literally like 2 days after I got the gift cards, I was like, let's go to Barnes & Noble. That was when I was still very sick, and I still wanted to go to Barnes & Noble, so. And speaking of the flu, I'm still not over it completely, and it's been like 2-3 weeks. So if you have the flu, don't be afraid to go to the hospital if you feel like you haven't been able to drink or eat properly, if you have a fever that hasn't been going down. Like, don't stop yourself from going to the hospital, because that's what I did, and it was worth it because I need it. I wasn't eating or drinking for like 4 days, and my fever just wouldn't stop. It's not worth dying over. Just go to the hospital if you feel like you need to. Anyway, now that we've talked about hair and the flu, let's now talk about the books that I got. This is kind of going to be like a wrap-up haul because I haven't done like just a regular haul in a while, so I figure I'll just talk about the books that I got after Christmas and like a couple books that I never talked about before. So let's get into it. So I got this book maybe a couple weeks ago. I can't remember why. I think I used up one of my gift cards to get it because I've been wanting it for a while, and I got A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. I've heard so many people talk about this book, and I am personally a sucker for Beauty and the Beast retellings, so I knew when people started going crazy over this that I would probably like it, so I've just been lusting after it for a while. And basically this is a young adult, like I said, Beauty and the Beast retelling, so I think it actually starts off contemporary and then it goes like into the fairy tale. So it follows kind of the story of Prince Ren, who is transformed into a vicious beast, and his family and everything is destroyed around him. All that needs to happen to break this curse on him is a woman has to fall in love with him, but that turns out to be pretty difficult until the protagonist, I'm assuming, Harper, comes along, and she's in Washington DC, so like I said, contemporary, and she gets pulled into this like alternate dimension, I'm assuming, where she's now in this world with Prince Ren, and you know, the fairy tale plays out. I don't know. That's what the synopsis makes it sound like, and this is the beginning of a series, so I don't know what to expect from this book. All I know is that I like retellings of Beauty and the Beast, and that a lot of people have loved this one, so I'm excited about it. I also weirdly think that the cover is really pretty. It's kind of simple, but for some reason I just really like the aesthetic of it. So when I went to Barnes & Noble to do my little haul with all my gift cards, they were having all these sales for like 50% off and like signed copies and all that stuff, so that's kind of why I got drawn into it. I didn't intend on spending all of my gift cards at one time, but that's just how it worked out. I think my brain was a little addled by like the sickness, and I just was like, buy all the books. So that's kind of what happened. I saw this on sale for 50% off, as you can see from the sticker that I haven't taken off yet, and I saw that it was also signed by Atticus. So Atticus is a very popular poet. He mostly writes like romantic poetry. He writes a lot about like his relationships and like women, and I think like some feminist poetry sort of, and I've always really loved him. I've just never bought one of his books before, but I do follow him on Instagram, religiously. If you don't know who Atticus is, he's an anonymous poet, so like nobody knows who he actually is, and just the mystery of his character as like a human being plus how good his poetry is just really like intrigues me a lot. So I love him and his poetry, and I'm glad that I was able to pick up not only a copy of his book but a signed copy of his book, because his signature is super cute. And so yeah, and I don't have a lot of books of poetry, which I'm kind of embarrassed about, so I'm glad to at least add him to that collection. In fact, I hope that I can actually get more books of poetry, because I know so many people who are great poets and I just feel so ignorant about poetry and like the history of poetry in general. I need to read more, so if you have a suggestion for that, I like Atticus, so if you want to go off of that you can, I guess. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. So next up, I got the last book in the Shades of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. So this is A Conjuring of Light. I have not read the other two books. I'm really embarrassed about that. I think I talked about that a little bit in some other video. I started A Darker Shade of Magic a couple years ago. It was in the summer and I wasn't in the mood for it. I wasn't in the mood to read, let's be honest. So like I didn't finish it even though I thought it was brilliant. And I still haven't picked it up again because I wanted to complete the trilogy before I picked it up again, so I'll probably start reading it again soon. But yeah, I just put it down, never picked it up again, and I saw this on sale for 50% off, and it's the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It has a little bookmark that's cute. If you don't know what the Shades of Magic trilogy is about, it follows a guy named Kell. It's a fantasy, adult fantasy, and it's set in London actually. So Kell is this rare, like, dying species of magician or whatever that can travel between the different parallel Londons. So there's like a red London, a white London, a gray London, and once upon a time there was like a black London. So Kell, as the ambassador for like the royal family of the red London, I think, travels between the Londons to like carry messages for the courts or whatever, and unofficially he also smuggles things between the Londons for a price, a fee. So that's kind of the background of the series, and all I can really say, having not read the entirety of the first book, but now that I have the third book, and look how pretty it is, it's so pretty, I think like I said, I think I'll start it soon. So next up, and I feel like this is pretty random because I didn't talk about this book at all, and in fact I just added it to my TBR like a week ago because I saw someone post it and I thought it looked intriguing, and what do you know, I found it at Barnes & Noble, and that is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. This is a young adult historical fiction fantasy, and I was honestly really intrigued by the cover. I think it's gorgeous. So when I went to Barnes & Noble, I saw it was 50% off. I was like, okay. And I'm honestly trying harder to get hardbacks because I typically get paperbacks because they're cheaper and I can kind of bend them a little bit more, but now that I have this library to like showcase my books, I'm gonna try to get books that are prettier. So that's kind of my logic in spending all my gift cards on hardbacks. So this sounds like a very fantastical, whimsical book. It follows the protagonist, January, who is the ward of a very wealthy man, and she lives in this like beautiful rich mansion, and she feels kind of like ignored in her life, bored, and one day she finds this like book in this mansion that, like, I think the description describes it as smelling of other worlds, and I think that's where the 1,000 Doors of January comes in, because I assume that she travels between these different worlds, and that's what the book is about. I don't read a lot of standalone fantasy, so I'm interested to see how this wraps up, but honestly, between the cover and the synopsis, I was sold. So I feel like it's a pretty new release, so if you have read it and you have an opinion about it, please let me know. Okay, the next one I'm about to show you, I'm very excited about, because I'm just so pleased that she finally wrote another book, and that is The Starless C by Erin Morgenstern. I read her Night Circus years ago and I loved it. It's a very dense book though, so I probably wouldn't recommend it to people that typically don't enjoy fantasy anyway, but I personally really loved it, and so I was so excited to hear that she was coming out with her next book. So I believe this is another adult fantasy standalone. and the synopsis is really hard to follow, and I haven't read it myself, so I can't really surmise it for you, but from what I can tell you, the protagonist is a young male named Zachary. He is college age, I believe, and one day he finds a book in his campus library, and he's taken by it. He really likes the story, and then as he's reading, he finds that like the story of his childhood is being told in the book, or like strange like parallels are being drawn between the book and his life or whatever. And once this happens, this like peculiar thing happens, and like the story begins. And what the story is, I don't really know, but I know that I like Erin Morgenstern. I know that I like her way of writing. So I do think it's funny that this book and the 10,000 Doors of January begin with somebody finding a book that is weird. So maybe that's a hint to me that one day I'll find a book that will lead me to a parallel world. Or maybe I'm a psychopath. Okay, I have one more for you guys, and I've been putting off buying this book forever because like I said, I don't really buy hardbacks, and I wanted to wait until it became a paperback, but that's dumb. I should just buy the hardbacks. Anyway, I got The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. So if you watched my best books of 2019, my favorite books of the year, then you probably remember that one of my favorite books was The Poppy War by the same author. This is the continuation of that. I don't want to spend too long giving you a summary of like the series because I just did that, but this is an adult fantasy historical fiction sort of set in China, or someplace that is very much like China, and it follows a girl named Rin who is a poor person. She lives in the Rooster province, and she has dreams of one day attending a prestigious war military school in the capital, and she takes an exam, she does really well, she makes it in, and things progress. So, like I said in my last video, this is a series about war, surrounded by war, lots of violence, lots of gore, some uncomfortable parts in it, and I'm assuming they only get worse as the books go on. And like I said in my last video, I don't remember all of the details in the first book, so I don't know if I can read this book until I've either reread the first book or I've completely like reviewed my knowledge of the series, because I don't want to go into this completely blind and be confused and not like it. That's just unfair to the author in the book when I do that. So for example, I actually just put down Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I just wasn't feeling it, and when you're not feeling a book, when you're just not vibing with it, it's a terrible idea to like push through unless there is something connecting you to the story, because maybe at some point you'll be sucked in. But if you're not feeling anything about the book, and if you just push yourself to just get through it, I feel like it's terrible because it makes you hate the book, and that's what was happening to me with Neverwhere. So eventually I just put it down because I was like, I can pick this up later and maybe enjoy it a little bit, or if I don't, then that's fine. I think I'll like his other work a little bit more. So that's kind of the end of my haul. I did want to point out to you that I also got Darkdawn by Jay Kristoff. I think I mentioned that before, so it's not really that big of a surprise. I just didn't like haul it for you. So I need to finish the series. I also have Dark Age, which I also mentioned, by Pierce Brown, and King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, which I can't read until I've read Crooked Kingdom, which Troy is reading right now, and all of these other books that I have not read. But now I have 5 more, so I'm also planning on going to a new library to their book sale in I think next week actually, so that video is coming soon. So if you want to see all the goodies that I hopefully find, please subscribe, like this video, comment below, let me know what you're reading. I hope your holidays were good. Happy 2020. It's been a bit of a crazy year so far. I go back to school on Monday, and not long after that I start to teach once a week. If you are not aware, if you're new to my channel, then I am a soon to become English teacher, secondary. So I'm in school to get my certification to teach high school English, and it is terrifying. Wish me luck in reading all of these books that I got, because I also went to the library today to rent 2 books. So I got Vicious by V.E. Schwab, which I've been wanting to read for a while, and Dune by Frank Herbert, because I have the audiobook for Dune and it was too confusing for me to just listen to, so I needed the book to like kind of bounce off of. So maybe I'll start that soon, but I'm also listening to The Au Pair by Emma Rous? I can't remember what her last name is. Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably in trouble. I've been starting and not finishing way too many books, so don't pay attention to my Goodreads. Everything's fine. Alright, I will see you soon, probably next week, and hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!